Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. Here we are, Friday night, Nectar of Devotion. Is there ever enough of this? No, the nectar is infinite. So let's keep reading this book, which describes this path of loving devotion to Krishna. We're on chapter 25, Devotees of Krishna. Nectar of Devotion, Bhaktiville writes in chat. Yeah, my words, blah. Sometimes that happens. So we're on page 209, 210 or so of the book, or page 246 of the PDF. I'm here with Bhaktiville. Kandita is not here today. We hope to see her again soon. And we're up here at the Panchatattva Temple. The first week of each month, we have all of our classes up here. It's such a delightful place. All right, so Nectar of Devotion, page 247 is what I have on my book, the first full paragraph. All right, here we go. Prahlad Maharaj said, oh, wait, oh my God, I'm such a bad disciple. Even though I write all these notes in my notes that I should offer obeisances and offer an invocation, I seem to always forget. So please forgive me. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna. Having taken shelter of his lotus feet. And of course the music starts right in the middle of that. That's funny. Oh, Krishna. Pancha kalpa trubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo.
Hari bol, my name is Gopi Chandra Das.
I don't know if you guys could hear that. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. All right, let's try that again. Page 247 of the PDF, first full paragraph. Prahlad Maharaj said that no one can attain the perfectional stage of devotional service without bowing down before exalted devotees. Learned sages like Markandeya Rishi attained perfection in devotional service simply by executing such regulative principles of service. So Markandeya Rishi, this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto, Chapter 8, 9, and 10, the story of Markandeya Rishi, if you want to read the story. But he was very fixed in his sadhana, very strict, and meditated for millions of years. He even survived the night of Brahma when the material world is inundated with floods. And while he was in the floods, and you'll see this in places. While he was in the floods, he found a little island. And on this island was a banyan tree. And on one of the leaves of the banyan tree was this sweet little baby, this little blue baby. And he was completely enthralled by this baby. And the baby picked up with its beautiful fingers, picked up its foot and stuck its big toe in its mouth. So you might see that picture of a baby Krishna laying on a leaf, and that's the story. It's Markandeya Rishi. So just a little reference there. All right, so back to the text. A person's achieving perfection in devotional service simply by the causeless mercy of the Lord is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the Brahmanas and their wives who were engaged in performing yajna or sacrifice. When the wives of the Brahmanas were favored by Lord Krishna and immediately attained the ecstasy of love of Godhead, their husbands began to say, How wonderful it is that although these women have undertaken no reformatory performances, such as accepting the sacred thread, have not resided in the monasteries of the spiritual master, have not observed the strict principles of celibacy, have not undergone any austerities, nor philosophized upon the observance of all ritual ceremonies, they still have attained the favor of Krishna, which is aspired after even by great mystics. How wonderful it is that these women have attained such perfection, while we, although Brahmanas, who have performed all the reformatory activities, cannot attain to this advanced stage. There is a similar statement by Narada, addressed to Shukadeva Goswami. My dear Shukadeva Goswami, you never took the trouble to reside under the care of a spiritual master, and yet you have attained such a great status of transcendental knowledge. You never took the trouble to undergo severe austerities, and still, how wonderful it is that you have been situated in the most perfect stage of love of Godhead. Shukadeva Goswami and the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing yajna are vivid examples of devotees who achieve the perfectional stage of devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The next section is eternal perfection. Persons who have achieved eternal blissful life exactly on the level of Sri Krishna, and who are able to attract Lord Krishna by their transcendental loving service, are called eternally perfect. The technical name is Nitya Siddha. There are two classes of living entities, namely Nitya Siddha and Nitya Pada. The distinction is that the Nitya Siddhas are eternally Krishna conscious without any forgetfulness, whereas the Nitya Badas, or eternally conditioned souls, are forgetful of their relationship with Krishna. Bhakti Mimulus says in text, nice story, yes. And he says, I knew a devotee named that. He was so wonderful to me. That's nice. That's nice, Markandeya Rishi. So the Nitya Badas, Bada means bound, so eternally bound. They're either eternally free or eternally bound. So the position of the Nityasiddhas is explained in the Padma Purana in connection with the narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Satyabhama Devi. So you know Satyabhama Devi is one of Krishna's wives. The Lord tells Satyabhama, my dear Satyabhama, I have descended to this earthly planet by the request of Lord Brahma and other demigods. Those who are born into this family of Yadu are all my eternal associates. My dear wife, you should not consider that my associates are ever separated from me. They are my personal expansions, and as such, you must know that they are almost as powerful as I am. Because of their transcendental qualities, they are very, very dear to me, as I am very, very dear to them. Anyone who becomes exhilarated by hearing of the pastimes of Lord Krishna when he was present on this earth with his associates is to be understood as Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, 30th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement, quote, how wonderful are the fortunate residents of Vrindavan, such as Nanda and the other cowherd men. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman, has actually become their intimate friend, end quote. A similar statement is there in the 10th canto, 26th chapter, 10th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Lord Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, the cowherd men, under the protection of Lord Krishna, became struck with wonder and went to Nanda Maharaj and inquired from him, my dear Nanda Maharaj, how is it that we are so intensely attached to Krishna? Krishna is also so And Krishna is also so affectionately attached to us. Does it mean that he is the super soul of everyone? All the residents of Vrindavan and Dwarka, namely the cowherd men and the members of the Yadu family, are eternally perfect devotees of the Lord. As the Lord descends by his causeless mercy upon this planet, so, in order to help in the pastimes of the Lord, these devotees also come here. They are not ordinary living entities or conditioned souls. They are ever liberated persons, associates of the personality of Godhead. And, just as Lord Krishna behaves like an ordinary man when he descends to this planet, so the members of the Yadu dynasty and the residents of Vrindavan execute activities just like ordinary men. But they are not ordinary men. They are as liberated as Lord Krishna himself. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda section, it is stated, quote, just as Lord Ramachandra descends, along with Lakshmana and Bharata, an expansion of Sankarshan, so the members of the Yadu dynasty and the cowherd men of Vrindavan also descend with Lord Krishna in order to join in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. There's a footnote here. A detailed description of the ways in which the various expansions and incarnations of Godhead are developed is to be found in the author's Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, New York, 1968, in chapters 6, 7, and 8. All right, back to the text. When the Supreme Lord returns to his eternal abode, his associates return with him to their respective places. As such, these ever-liberated Vaishnavas are not bound by the material laws of birth and death. End quote. As is stated in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself, his birth, deeds, and activities are all transcendental. Similarly, the birth, deeds, and activities of the associates of the Lord are also transcendental. And, as it is an offense to consider oneself to be Krishna, so it is offensive to consider oneself to be Yashoda, Nanda, or any other associate of the Lord. We should always remember that they are transcendental. They are never conditioned souls. It is described that Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, has 64 transcendental qualities, and all of the ever-liberated souls who accompany the Lord have the first 55 of the qualities, without any doubt. Such devotees are related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any of the 5 transcendental mellows, namely neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal love. These relationships with the Lord are eternal, and therefore Nityasiddha devotees do not have to strive to attain the perfectional stage by executing regulative devotional principles. They are eternally qualified to serve Krishna. Jai. Chapter 26. Stimulation for ecstatic love. Nityasiddha, Bhaktiville says. Oh, the devotee's name was Nityasiddha, not Markandeya Rishi. Sorry. Got it. So this next chapter is a little bit long, and we may or may not finish it, so we'll see what happens. Stimulation for ecstatic love. Some things which give stimulation to ecstatic love of Krishna are his transcendental qualities, his uncommon activities, his smiling features, his apparel, his garlands, his flute, his buffalo horn, his lake bells, his conch shell, his footprints, his place of pastimes, such as Vrindavan, his favorite plant, Tulasi, his devotee, and the periodical occasions for remembering him. One such occasion for remembrance is Ekadashi, which comes twice a month on the 11th day of the moon, both waxing and waning. On that day, all the devotees remain fasting throughout the night and continually chant the glories of the Lord. The next section is Krishna's transcendental qualities, his uncommon activities, and his smile. As far as Krishna's transcendental qualities are concerned, they can be divided into three groups: qualities pertaining to his transcendental body, qualities pertaining to his transcendental speech, and qualities pertaining to his transcendental mind. Krishna's age, his transcendental bodily features, his beauty, and his mildness are qualities pertaining to his body. There is no difference between Krishna and his body, and therefore the transcendental features pertaining to his body are the same as Krishna himself. But because these qualities stimulate the devotee's ecstatic love, they have been analyzed as separate causes of that love. To be attracted by the qualities of Krishna means to be attracted by Krishna himself, because there is no real distinction between Krishna and his qualities. Krishna's name is also Krishna. Krishna's fame is also Krishna. Krishna's entourage is also Krishna. Krishna and everything related with Krishna, which gives stimulation to love of Krishna, are all Krishna. But for our understanding, I need to turn off my mic for a second. Sorry about that. Therefore, the impetuses to love Krishna, although seemingly different, are not actually distinct from Krishna himself. In the technical Sanskrit terms, such qualities as Krishna's name, fame, etc., are accepted both as reservoirs of and stimulation for love of Krishna. Krishna's age is considered in three periods. From his appearance day to the end of his 6th year is called Kumara. From the beginning of the 6th year up to the 10th year is called Puganda. And from the 10th to the 16th year is called Kaishora. After the beginning of the 16th year, Krishna is called a Yovana, or a youth, and this continues with no change. As far as Krishna's transcendental pastimes are concerned, they are mostly executed during the Kumara, Puganda, and Kaishora periods. His affectionate pastimes with his parents are executed during his Kumara age. His friendship with the cowherd boys is exhibited during the Puganda period, and his friendship with the gopis is exhibited during the age of Kaishora. Krishna's pastimes at Vrindavan are finished by the end of his 15th year, and then he is transferred to Mathura and Dwarka, where all other pastimes are performed. Srila Rupa Goswami gives us a vivid description of Krishna as the reservoir of all pleasures in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Here are some parts of that description. Excuse me, Bhaktiville, can you text Ellie and let her know that we're here up at the Panchatattva temple? Thanks. Krishna's Kaishora age can be divided into three parts. In the beginning of his Kaishora age, that is, at the beginning of his 11th year, the luster of his body becomes so bright that it becomes an impetus for ecstatic love. Similarly, there are reddish borders around his eyes and a growth of soft hairs on his body. In describing this early stage of his Kaishora age, Kundalata, one of the residents of Vrindavan, said to her dear friend, "My dear friend, I have just seen an extraordinary beauty appearing in the person of Krishna. His blackish bodily hue appears just like the Indranila jewel. There are reddish signs on his eyes, and small soft hairs are coming out of his body. The appearance of these symptoms has made him extraordinarily beautiful. In this connection, in the 10th canto, 21st chapter, 5th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami tells King Parikshit, "My dear king, I shall try to describe how the minds of the gopis became absorbed in the thought of Krishna. The gopis would meditate on Krishna's dressing himself just like a dancing actor and entering the forest of Vrindavan, marking the ground with his footprints. They meditated on Krishna's having a helmet with a peacock feather and wearing earrings on his ears and yellow gold-colored garments covered with jewels and pearls. They also meditated on Krishna's blowing his flute and on all the cowherd boys singing of the glories of the Lord." That is the description of the meditation which the gopis used to perform. Sometimes the gopis would think about his soft nails, moving eyebrows, and his teeth, which were, I don't know this word, katechu colored from chewing pan, so the pinkish, reddish. One description was given by a gopi to her friend. "My dear friend, just see how the enemy of Aga has assumed such wonderful features. His brows are just like the brows of Cupid, and they are moving just as though they were dancing. The tips of his nails are so soft, it is as if they were dried bamboo leaves. His teeth are reddish, and so it appears that he has assumed a feature of anger. Under the circumstances, where is the chance for a young girl not to be attracted by such beautiful features, and not to be afraid of becoming a victim to such beauty?" Krishna's attractive features are also described by Vrinda, the gopi after whom Vrindavan was named. She told Krishna, "My dear Madhava, your newly invented smile has so captivated the hearts of the gopis that they are simply unable to express themselves. As such, they have become bewildered and will not talk with others. All of these gopis have become so affected that it is as if they had offered 3 sprinkles of water upon their lives. In other words, they have given up all hope for their living condition." End of quote. According to the Indian system, when a person is dead, there is a sprinkling of water on the body. Thus the statement of Vrinda shows that the gopis were so enchanted by the beauty of Krishna that because they could not express their minds, they decided to commit suicide. When Krishna arrived at the age of 13 to 14 years, his 2 arms and chest assumed an unspeakable beauty, and his whole form became simply enchanting. When Krishna attained 13 years of age, his 2 arms were challenging the trunks of elephants. His rising chest was trying to come to peace talks with doors of jewels, and his 2 arms were minimizing the value of the bolts found on the doors. Who can describe the wonderful beauty of these features of Krishna? The special beauty of Krishna's body was his mild smiling, his restless eyes, and his world-enchanting songs. These are the special features of this age. There is a statement in this connection that Krishna, on arriving at this age, manifested such beautiful bodily features that his restless eyes became the playthings of Cupid, and his mild smile resembled the newly grown lotus flower. The enchanting vibration of his songs became a great impediment to the young girls, who were supposed to remain chaste and faithful to their husbands. At this age, Krishna enjoyed the Rasa Leela exhibiting his power of joking with the cowherd girls and enjoying their company in the bushes of the gardens by the bank of the Yamuna. In this connection, there is the following statement, quote, "Throughout the whole tract of land known as Vrindavan, there were the footprints of Krishna and the gopis, and in some places peacock feathers were strewn about. In some places there were nice beddings in the bushes of the Vrindavan gardens, and in some places there were piles of dust due to the group dancing of Govinda and the gopis." End quote. These are some of the features which are due to the different pastimes invented by Sri Krishna in the place known as Vrindavan. There is the following statement by one gopi describing Krishna's attractive feature during this age. "My dear friend, just see how all of a sudden in the sky of Krishna there is a powerful rising sun, and how this rising sun is minimizing the rays of our chastity moon. Our attraction for Krishna is so intense that it is drying up the lotus flower of our discrimination, and we are losing our senses in deciding whether we shall continue as chaste women or be victimized by the beauty of Krishna. My dear friend, I think that we have lost all hope of life." In the Kaishora age, beginning from the 11th year and continuing up to the end of the 15th year, Krishna's arms, legs, and thighs became marked with 3 divisional lines. At that time, Krishna's chest challenged the hill of the Marakata jewel. His arms challenged the pillars of the Indranila jewel, and the 3 lines of his waist challenged the waves of the river Jamuna, and his thighs challenged beautiful bananas. One gopi said, quote, "With all these exquisite features of his body, Krishna is too extraordinarily beautiful, and therefore I am always thinking of him to protect me, because he is the killer of all demons." End quote. The idea expressed in this statement is that the gopis were comparing their attraction for Krishna to an attack by demons, and to counteract their attraction for the beauty of Krishna, they were also turning to Krishna, hopefully because he is the killer of all kinds of demons. In other words, they were perplexed because on one hand, they were attracted by the beauty of Krishna, and on the other, they needed Krishna to drive away the demon of such attraction. This Kaishora age can be translated as adolescence. At the end of this period, all the gopis said, "Krishna is the killer of the attraction of Cupid, and as such, he disturbs the patience of all newly married girls. Krishna's bodily features have become so exquisite. It is as if they are all manifesting an artistic sense of the highest sort. His dancing eyes have dimmed the brilliance of the most expert dancer, and so there is no longer any comparison to the beauty of Krishna." End quote. Learned scholars therefore describe the features of his body at this time as Navayovana, newly invented youthfulness. At this stage of Krishna's bodily features, the conjugal love affairs with the gopis and similar pastimes become very prominent. There are 6 features of conjugal love affairs, called peacemaking, picking a quarrel, going to meet one's lover, sitting together, separation, and support. Lord Krishna expanded an empire of these 6 features, of which he was the ruling prince. Somewhere he was picking quarrels with the young girls. Somewhere he was scratching them with the nails of parrots. Somewhere he was busy going to visit the gopis, and somewhere he was negotiating through cowherd friends to take shelter of the gopis. Some of the gopis addressed him thusly, "My dear Krishna, because of your adolescent age, You have just become the spiritual master of these young girls, and you are teaching them to whisper among themselves. You are teaching them to offer solemn prayers, as well as training them to cheat their husbands and to join you in the gardens at night, without caring for the instructions of their superiors. You are enthusing them by the vibration of your enchanting flute, and as their teacher, you are teaching them all the intricacies of loving affairs. End quote. It is said that even when Krishna was a boy of 5, he manifested such youthful energies, but learned scholars do not explain them because of the absence of suitable age. Krishna was beautiful because every part of his body was perfectly arranged without any defect. Such perfect bodily features of Krishna are described as follows, quote, "My dear enemy of Kamsa, your broad eyes, your rising chest, your 2 pillar-like arms, and the thin middle portion of your body are always enchanting to every lotus-eyed, beautiful girl." End quote. The ornaments on the body of Krishna were not actually enhancing his beauty, but just the reverse. The ornaments were beautified by Krishna. So we'll stop there at 6:30. What a wonderful chapter. Oh, Haribo, Ellie. Nice to see you. Bhaktiville says, I remember that last line all the time. Yeah, it's a great line. And so true. All right, so we will, Bhaktiville says, when he decorates the deity, he remembers that line. Yes. The last line again is, the ornaments on the body of Krishna were not actually enhancing his beauty, but just the reverse. The ornaments were beautified by Krishna. There it is. We're reading from the Nectar of Devotion. And this is chapter, oh gosh, let me scroll back a little bit. This is chapter 26. Chapter 26. All right, goodbye and good night. And we'll see you again on Sunday morning for Bhagavad Arka Marichi Mala. All right, take care, my friends. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.